Just to jump in here a bit and expand on some of these ideas. So an interesting picture that you're painting here of a Chinese perception of Western liberal democracy as overly procedural, constitutionally rigid, unable to make long-term decisions. What is the view just in China simply of elections? I mean, when the Chinese watch the American election, what do they take away from that? Is that an experience that they say to themselves, well, wouldn't it be great if we could have elections every 4 to 5 years? Or do they look at that and say, this is something that's just so completely foreign and alien to our culture and how we think about governance in China?
China is the country that invented the public service examination system, what we call the Keqi system in Sui Dynasty over 1,000 years ago. So Chinese system is more or less based on what we call the selection. And today it will be called selection plus election. That's the Chinese political model, how we elect our leaders. And overwhelming emphasis is placed on your performance prior to your current position. For instance, if you want to be a member of the top 7 top leadership in the Chinese system, in most cases, it requires 2 terms as governor number 1 of a Chinese province. Given the size of China, it means literally you have governed over 100 million people before you come to be have this qualification for being nominated for this position, 1 out of 7. So indeed, based on that, really, we think the U.S. system is a bit, how should we put it? To be frank, it will not work very well. Yeah.
Tell us, because this is really, I find this fascinating, because again, as Westerners, I don't think we often appreciate this enough about China. The system of selection, that there's a view in China that you've been at governance, not since the Communist Revolution, quite the contrary. You've been working on a system of governance literally for something close to 2 millennia. Can you talk a little bit more about that and why the Chinese, in your view, really accept that as part of the legitimacy of the system writ large?
Most probably, in China's long history, it's already a unified country since 221 BC. So it's already over 2,000 years as a unified country in most cases. So China is, since then, always a large country, a continental country, civilization. I call this civilizational state. It's made up of hundreds of states into one over its long history. So given this large population and challenges for governance, and also in terms of resources per capita, it's much fewer than most other countries. So somehow people generate this culture for meritocracy, for governance. So the Chinese invented this, relatively neutral government based on competent leaders selected through examinations of all kinds. So in the end, this part of Chinese culture. So it's inconceivable, the Chinese will accept someone like, not mention Donald Trump, even Obama, or even George Bush, W. Bush. By Chinese standards, slightly below the bar. It lacks enough experience of governance.